At my bachelorette party, my fiancé's best friend pushed me, someone who couldn't swim, into the pool. Fear and panic instantly surged through me, and I instinctively screamed, "Help! Help!" But the people on the shore remained indifferent, some even commenting with amusement. "Haha, Stella is such a coward. The water isn't even deep. Why is she so scared?" My gaze frantically searched for Ethan, only to dimly see him on the shore, kissing his best friend, completely oblivious to me. Just as I was about to lose consciousness, someone finally noticed my distress and pulled me out of the pool. I coughed violently by the poolside, the water mixed with tears blurring my vision, but the image of Ethan kissing that woman was seared into my mind like a hot iron. Someone gently patted my back. "Are you okay?" It was a stranger's voice. I pushed my wet hair back and saw he was the only unfamiliar face at the party. He offered me a towel, his gaze free of mockery, only concern. "Thank you," I said hoarsely, my fingertips still trembling as I wrapped the towel tightly around myself, not from the cold, but from rage. Ethan finally noticed the commotion. He let go of Chloe, the woman he always claimed was just a friend, and quickly walked over. "Stella, how could you be so careless?" He reached out to help me up. I avoided his hand and stood on my own. The pool water only reached my chest, but the fear was real, and so was the betrayal. Chloe followed, smiling without an ounce of guilt. "It was just a joke. Stella, you're not really mad, are you?" I looked at Ethan. His eyes darted, unable to meet mine. "A joke?" I asked softly. "Did you see me drowning?" "I did." Ethan scratched his head. "But Chloe said you were just acting." "Chloe." He called her so intimately. I smiled, not my usual gentle smile, but a cold, sharp one. "The wedding is off." 5 words. It was as if a mute button had been pressed. The lively party fell into instant silence. Ethan froze. "What did you say?" I said. I articulated each word. "The wedding is off." Chloe feigned concern. "Don't be impulsive. Stella, it's all my fault. Of course it's your fault." I cut her off. "But whether to forgive or not is my right." I tore at the hem of my soaking gown and walked barefoot across the cold floor. Each step felt like walking on broken glass. Yet my back was perfectly straight. Ethan chased after me. "For such a small thing? You're being too headstrong." I turned to face him. The man I had loved for 3 years was now terrifyingly unfamiliar. "You stood by and watched me almost die. You call that a small thing? You wouldn't have died." He raised his voice. "Everyone knows that's the shallow end. I can't swim." "Ethan, did you forget? Or do you simply not care?" He choked, his face turning from red to pale. I continued walking, not looking back. Applause sounded behind me. It was the stranger who had helped me. "Do you need a ride home?" he asked. I shook my head. "I can go back on my own." But not to the shared apartment Ethan and I were supposed to move into. I was going back to my own home, my own life. As I walked out of the mansion, the moonlight was as cold as a blade. I took out my phone and dialed the first number. "Richard, I need a favor. Freeze all projects with the Taylor family." There was a moment of silence on the other end. "Are you sure?" "Stella?" "Yes, I'm sure. Their son almost got your daughter killed." Hanging up the phone, I took a deep breath. The night wind carried the scent of flowers, and for the first time, breathing felt so free. The first thing I did upon returning to my apartment was to block all of Ethan's contact information. But early the next morning, the doorbell rang incessantly. On the security screen, Ethan and Chloe stood side by side. I pulled my robe tighter and opened the door. "Stella, let's talk." Ethan had dark circles under his eyes, clearly having been up all night. "Talk about what?" Chloe stepped forward, shaking her phone. The screen displayed a video of me struggling in the pool last night. "Stella, if this video gets out, it wouldn't be good for your reputation or your father's company, would it?" I looked at her and suddenly laughed. "Well shot. Send me a copy. I could use a reminder of how blind I was." Ethan frowned. "Stella, don't be like this. Restore the projects. We'll delete the video, and the wedding will proceed as planned." "What happened yesterday?" I was wrong. "Wrong?" I repeated the word, as if tasting something vile. "You think this is merely wrong? Then what do you want?" Ethan finally lost his patience. "My father's company is in deep trouble right now, all because of one sentence from you." "So," I said slowly, "you're not here to apologize. You're here to threaten me." Chloe hooked Ethan's arm, feigning a smile. "Ethan just doesn't want to blow things up. Stella, After 3 years together, isn't it better to part ways amicably? I looked at their tightly clasped hands. Now you're not even bothering to pretend? Ethan tried to pull his arm away as if burned, but Chloe held on tighter. Restore the projects. Ethan stared at me, his voice hard. Otherwise, I can't guarantee where that video might end up. I silently watched them. Sunlight streamed in from behind, casting shadows on their faces. The eyes that once made my heart flutter now only showed ugly calculation. Go ahead and post it, I said. Both of them froze. What? I said. Post it anywhere you want. I leaned against the doorframe, my voice calm. It'll be a good chance for everyone to see how the heir apparent of the conspired with the other woman to try and drown his fiancé. Who couldn't swim? Chloe shrieked. Who's the other woman? You are. I looked at her, wearing the bridesmaid gown I picked out, kissing my fiancé at my bachelorette party, and trying to drown me. If that's not the other woman, what is it? Ethan's face turned ashen. Stella, do you have to be so ruthless? Ruthless? I chuckled softly, pulling out my phone. The screen showed the 911 dialing interface. Want to bet who's more ruthless? Attempted murder. Clear evidence. What do you think? Will this video ruin my reputation more? Or send her to prison? Chloe's face instantly went pale. Ethan stared at me in disbelief. You called the police? Not yet. My thumb hovered over the dial button. But if you stay at my door for another second, I can't promise I won't. The air solidified. Ethan's chest heaved. Chloe gripped his arm tightly, her nails almost digging into his flesh. I quietly watched them, watching the man I once thought I would spend my life with, now standing against me for another woman. Get out, I said. Ethan opened his mouth, but ultimately said nothing, and was pulled away by Chloe, stumbling, closing the door. I slid down, leaning against it. My hands were trembling, but my heart beat steadily and powerfully. I called my lawyer's number. Sarah, please draft 2 documents for me. One is a statement to dissolve the engagement, and the other is a lawsuit accusing Chloe of assault with intent to harm. Evidence? I looked out at the clear blue sky, speaking each word distinctly. I have video, from multiple angles. I sat in Sarah's spacious office, sunlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling window onto the polished desk. I pushed my phone across to her, the screen displaying the chaotic pool scene, my frantic choking, and Chloe's maliciously smiling face. This is the main evidence. Additionally, there should be other witnesses at the party. Sarah, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s, meticulously watched the video. She mused for a moment, then looked up at me, a hint of subtle pity in her gaze. Ms. Stella, the video shows Chloe pushing you and your struggle in the water. However, she paused. Proving attempted murder will be extremely difficult. My heart sank. Why? She knew I couldn't swim. Firstly, the setting was a shallow-end pool party, which their lawyer could easily argue was merely a joke gone too far. Secondly, she pointed to the blurry image of Ethan and Chloe kissing in the video. While that behavior is morally reprehensible, its connection to murder is weak. Most crucially, you were rescued quickly and did not suffer legally defined severe injuries. She paused, her voice cool to the point of cruelty. Overall, even if we file the case, it would likely be deemed a public order offense or a civil dispute, possibly ending in mediation or a minor administrative penalty. Failing to inflict any substantial blow on Chloe, a cold sense of powerlessness seized me. I thought I held a sharp blade, only to find it might not even scratch their skin. Moreover, Sarah added, I've done some preliminary research into Chloe's background. Her father is a partner at Vance Associates firm, with deep connections in the legal community. If we push this case with insufficient evidence, we could get caught in a protracted battle, which would be a significant drain on your energy and reputation. I leaned back in the chair, my fingertips cold. So, reality wasn't some dramatic novel. The barriers of capital and the web of connections held far more power than a clear video. So, your advice is? 2 paths. First, accept a possible mediation, in exchange for a public apology and financial compensation. But you'll likely find that hard to swallow. Second, her gaze sharpened. Gather more, harder evidence. For instance, finding other guests to testify that Chloe intentionally targeted your inability to swim, or substantive evidence like a recording or video of Ethan threatening you afterward. But as of now, our leverage isn't enough. I understood. I wasn't powerful enough to shake them yet. I see. Sarah, please hold off for now. but keep the lawsuit drafted for me, of course. Stepping out of the law firm, the sunlight was blinding. I took a deep breath, suppressing the lingering heaviness in my heart. A legal dead end didn't mean I was out of options. I pulled out my phone and dialed another number. Uncle, it's Stella. I want to know which core projects that currently rely on most from the... Yes, the most critical ones. Since the law couldn't grant me justice for now, I would use what they valued most, their interests, to slowly exact my retribution. After hanging up, I received a text from an unknown number, MS. Stella, this is Leo, from the party that night. If you need it, I can offer some information about what happened. Leo? The man who pulled me out of the pool. I replied, thank you. What information do you have? I happened to record a complete video, from a clearer angle than the one circulating. Also, before Chloe pushed you, she said something to the person next to her that I overheard. My heart skipped a beat. What did she say? She said, give her a lesson. See if she dares to be so arrogant again. I gripped my phone. New leverage had arrived. I arranged to meet Leo at a secluded coffee shop. He arrived early, sitting in a corner, a laptop and a black coffee in front of him. Seeing me enter, he closed his laptop and stood up with smooth movements. MS. Stella. He nodded. Mr. Leo. I sat opposite him and went straight to the point. Thank you for the information, but I need to know why you're helping me. Leo pushed a tablet across to me. The screen showed a paused video frame, indeed from a more astute angle, clearly capturing the moment Chloe reached out to push me, and the undisguised malice on her face. I have no personal grudge against Chloe, he said calmly. However, Summit Group, where I work, is a competitor of Vance Associates' firm, her father's firm. This video, along with the recording of what she said before pushing you, could serve as evidence of her misconduct, which might play a role in a judge's consideration in certain key cases. It was a very pragmatic reason, driven by self-interest, which paradoxically made me slightly lower my guard. Is the recording clear? He played an audio clip. The environment was noisy, but Chloe's line, give her a lesson, see if she dares to be so arrogant again, was clearly distinguishable, laced with harshness. You were right next to her then? Coincidence. Leo put away his devices. I overheard it inadvertently. MS. Stella, I know you've consulted Sarah, and you should be aware that a mere pool video would be difficult to cause her substantial harm. But with this clear motive of giving a lesson, the situation will be different. At the very least, in terms of public sentiment, she'll completely lose the excuse of it being a joke gone too far. I looked at him. How do you want to collaborate? Resource sharing. Leo spoke frankly. You have leverage over the projects that rely on from the, and I have evidence that can ruin Chloe's reputation. We can exchange information and act independently. If you need my evidentiary support, I'll provide it within legal and ethical bounds. Similarly, if in the future, in certain business contexts, that could show some favoritism towards Summit Group, I'd be very grateful. It was fair, even to say that his help at this stage was more direct, but I wasn't carried away. How can I be sure you won't turn against me at a critical moment, or use this evidence to blackmail me? Leo seemed to have anticipated my question. He handed me a business card and a USB drive. This is a copy of my bar license and my partner certificate for the law firm. The USB drive contains copies of the video and audio. You can verify their authenticity, and you can also consult Sarah on how you might counter me if I were to illegally blackmail you with this evidence. Collaboration is based on trust, but it also requires a balance of power. Clearly, MS. Stella, you possess that power. His candor surprised me again. I accepted the items. I need some time to consider. Of course. Leo stood up. Feel free to contact me anytime. After he left, I looked at the USB drive and business card on the table. Leo's appearance was like a timely rain, but whether the raindrops were warm or cold still needed time to ascertain. I didn't go home immediately. Instead, I went to my father's company. With Marcus's help, I clearly saw the lifeline of the business, the development project. They had invested almost all their liquid capital, just waiting for the funding to commence. Stella, are you really going to freeze this? Richard looked at me, his eyes holding concern, but also support. Richard, it's not freezing it. I pointed to the project proposal. It's postponing. We need to reevaluate the risks. Also, find a way to let them know that the pause is due to the personal conduct of certain members of their family, which has affected our assessment of their risk management capabilities. Richard instantly understood my meaning. Understood. Not long after the news was released, Ethan's mother, Eleanor, that notoriously arrogant socialite, called my phone directly. Her tone unprecedentedly cordial. "Stella dear, it's Aunt. Look, you and Ethan are having a spat. But why is it affecting business? Young people argue. It's perfectly normal." I looked out the window, my voice flat. "Aunt, it's not an argument. It's your son, conspiring with an outsider, who nearly got me killed. I believe cooperating with such a family carries too high a risk." There was a moment of silence on the other end. Then her voice, when she spoke again, carried a subtle hint of steel. "Stella, you shouldn't make such claims." Chloe was a bit reckless, but she certainly meant no harm. The pool water was so shallow. What could possibly happen? "You, on the other hand, are willing to destroy years of friendship between our families and such a significant project over this small matter. Isn't that a bit thoughtless?" As expected, they chose to defend Ethan and Chloe, trying to pressure me by calling me thoughtless. "Aunt," I gently interrupted her, "how shallow or deep the water was, I, as someone who can't swim, know best. As for being thoughtless, I believe that refusing to cooperate with someone who attempted to harm me is far more in line with a sensible adult's logic than threatening a life-saving project." "Excuse me, I'm very busy." I hung up the phone, my heart pounding rapidly from anger, but my mind was exceptionally clear. A few evenings later, as I was leaving my apartment building, a familiar black sedan abruptly pulled up in front of me. The window rolled down, revealing Ethan's sullen face. "Get in." His tone was harsh, leaving no room for argument. I stood still. "Say what you need to say right here." He pushed open the car door and stepped out, quickly closing in on me. His once tall figure now only brought a sense of oppression. His eyes were bloodshot, his jaw stubbled, making him look somewhat disheveled. But more than that, there was a fierce resentment. "Stella, you're ruthless." With Eastside Project paused. "Do you know how much my family is losing every day?" "So?" I looked at him calmly. "Is your loss more important than me almost drowning in that pool?" "You didn't die, did you?" he growled, drawing glances from passers-by. "For such a small thing, you're going to destroy my family? Chloe pushing you was wrong. I'll apologize on her behalf." "Okay, apologize on her behalf." The words were like poison needles, pricking the last soft corner of my heart. "In what capacity are you apologizing for her?" I asked. "Her boyfriend? Or her accomplice?" Ethan choked, his face growing even uglier. "Don't change the subject. I'm telling you, Stella. Have your father resume the project funding immediately, or else what?" I met his threatening gaze. He took a step closer, lowering his voice, a desperate ruthlessness in his tone. "Otherwise, I don't mind letting more people see the real MS." "Stella, you think you're so pure? Those ambiguous photos from college, and your father's company's questionable dealings, if you push me too far, we'll both go down in flames." My heart plummeted. Photos from college? They were just ordinary party photos where I'd had a bit too much to drink. But if taken out of context, he could easily fabricate a story. As for my father's company's finances, I trusted my father's integrity, but business operations inevitably have aspects that can be misinterpreted. He was trying to drag me through the mud. Fear, like a cold snake, crawled up my spine, but I forced myself to stand tall, even curving my lips into a slight smile. "Ethan, are you finally done pretending to be affectionate?" I pulled out my phone. The screen lit up, and the red indicator light of the recording app was blinking. "Do you need me to play back what you just said, including the part where you threatened to fabricate evidence to defame me and my family's company?" Ethan's pupils abruptly constricted, and he instinctively tried to grab my phone. I stepped back, avoiding his hand. "Don't forget what my family made its fortune from. When it comes to manipulating public opinion, you might not win against me. You release one blurry photo, and I can release a clear recording. You concoct a story, and I can produce evidence of you conspiring with Chloe to commit attempted murder. Let's see who the public believes more." He froze, his face shifting from red, then white, then green, like a spilled paint palette. You recorded me? Better safe than sorry." I put away my phone. Looks like I was right to be cautious. Just then, my car arrived. The driver got out and opened the door for me. I gave Ethan one last look. He seemed drained of strength, standing there dejectedly. "Ethan, don't come here again. Next time, it won't be me talking to you, but my lawyer." Or the police. I got into the car, closed the door, shutting out his venomous stare. Leaning back in the seat, I realized my palms were slick with cold sweat. After my recording countered Ethan's direct threats, they indeed stopped bothering me. But the peace lasted less than a week. The storm arrived in a more insidious way. First, Richard told me, his face grave, that 2 long-term corporate clients had suddenly decided to terminate their contracts, offering vague reasons. Next, the opening guests for my small art exhibition at a gallery I frequented began canceling one after another, citing excuses. Finally, my best friend, Maya, called me, fuming. "Stella, have you seen what they're spreading in the group chat? I'm so angry." I opened the private group chat, usually buzzing with fashion and gossip, and saw it was now heating up. Several messages, not explicitly naming anyone but clearly pointed, jumped out. Heard a certain heiress messed up before her wedding, got dumped, and is now using her family's business to threaten her ex-fiancé. Her behavior is truly appalling, right? She pretends to be an independent woman, but she's nothing without her family, and her temper is terrible. No wonder she couldn't keep a man. I even heard she has promiscuous tendencies. Very wild. At the party before, she was TSK. Otherwise, why would the guy be so firm? The accompanying images were a few photos of me from college parties, deliberately cropped to appear suggestive. There was no image of Ethan and Chloe pushing me into the water, only me portrayed as a wild woman who plays hard but can't lose. My heart felt gripped by an invisible hand, and breathing became difficult. They had changed their strategy, no longer direct confrontation, but using their connections and information asymmetry to spread rumors within my social and professional circles, ruining my reputation and cutting off my resources. This kind of insidious attack, drawing no blood, still caused agonizing pain. I didn't respond in the group chat. That would only make things worse. I calmly took screenshots, documenting every rumor and spreader. Then, I received a call from Chloe, her voice laced with false concern. "Stella, how have you been lately? I heard your art exhibition isn't going so well." Sigh. Why make such a fuss? Ethan was just confused for a moment. After all, you two had 3 years of history. As long as you talk to Mr. Richard and get the project going again, I'll help you clear up all these messy rumors. Okay? The true intentions were revealed. They were trying to force me into submission with these despicable tactics. I gripped the phone, my nails digging into my palm. "Chloe, do you think this will make me give in?" "Stella, don't misunderstand." She chuckled lightly. "I just don't want to see us both go down in flames. Your reputation is damaged now, and Mr. Richard's business is affected. Why bother? Take a step back, and you'll find the open sky." "Open sky?" I almost scoffed. "Watching you two, a scumbag and a scheming woman, enjoy yourselves freely. You call that the open sky for me? You?" Chloe's false cordiality finally shattered. "Stella, don't be ungrateful. What do you think your recordings can do? Everyone sympathizes with us now. If you don't wise up, there's worse waiting for you." "Bring it on," I said, enunciating each word. "Let's see who ends up ruined in the end." After hanging up, the immense anger and humiliation gave way to an unusual calm. They had successfully enraged me, and also made me realize completely that against such people, any soft-heartedness or retreat was futile. I dialed Leo's number. "Mr. Leo, it seems our collaboration needs to accelerate. They've started making moves in my social and business circles." Leo didn't seem surprised. "I've also noticed some shifts in the public sentiment. Chloe is very adept at using her connections to spread information. What do you plan to do?" "They want to play the public opinion game, and I'll play it to the end with them," I said, looking at the screenshots and recordings I had collected on my laptop. "But I need more substantive dirt on Chloe, something that even her law firm partner father can't cover up." Leo was silent for a moment on the phone, seemingly weighing his options. "I have indeed uncovered some leads regarding potential irregularities in a case Chloe handled in the past, but it will take time to verify." "What do you need me to do?" "Nothing for now. Stay alert. Maintain your normal social and business activities. Don't let them rattle you. Collect all evidence of their harassment and defamation. When necessary." He paused. "We might consider a preemptive strike." "A preemptive strike?" I looked at my cold gaze in the mirror and nodded. "I understand." After hanging up, I opened my laptop and began drafting a statement. Not a defense, but a declaration of war. At the same time, I contacted Sarah to consult on the details of a defamation lawsuit. They wanted to drag the battlefield into the circles I relied on, to trap me with rumors. Then I would show them what kind of energy a completely enraged, uninhibited woman could unleash. Just when I felt cornered and almost suffocated by this invisible web, Leo's call came, his voice holding a hint of suppressed excitement. We have a breakthrough. Last year, when Chloe assisted her father with a commercial dispute, she was allegedly involved in bribing a former employee of the opposing company to falsify key evidence. The family suppressed the matter back then, and that employee also took hush money and disappeared. My heart skipped a beat. Is the evidence conclusive? I found that former employee. He kept a backup, secretly recording a conversation with Chloe's assistant and a record of a suspicious large transfer. He's lost a lot of money gambling recently and is willing to talk, but for a high price. Money is not an issue, I said immediately. How reliable is the evidence? The recording explicitly mentions Ms. Chloe's instructions, although the transfer account was heavily disguised. Tracing it leads back to a shell company controlled by a distant relative of Chloe. This is a substantial stain. Once exposed, not only could Chloe's individual bar license be revoked, but her father's law firm's reputation would also suffer severe damage, potentially even facing a judicial investigation. This was orders of magnitude more damaging than the pool incident. I gripped the phone, my palms slightly sweaty. Do you suggest we use it now? No. Leo was unusually calm. Now is not the time. First, we need to get that employee to sign a formal, notarized testimony to ensure he cannot retract. Second, we need to solidify the money trail and the chain of command, making it a closed loop. Third, and most importantly, we need to choose the most impactful timing. I understood what he meant. The bombshell had to be dropped at the most critical moment to cause maximum damage. I agree. What do you need me to do? Financial support. And, Leo paused. Patience. Continue to maintain your current posture. Even act slightly vulnerable, making them believe you're helpless and dropping their guard. The more triumphant they feel, the harder they'll fall. Act vulnerable? I looked at my stubborn reflection in the mirror and took a deep breath. All right. Over the next few weeks, following Leo's advice, I reduced my public appearances and stopped responding to rumors within my social circles, as if truly defeated by the gossip and hiding away. Richard also cooperated by showing signs of being overwhelmed. Sure enough, Ethan and Chloe seemed to believe I was no longer a threat. Chloe even casually remarked at a small gathering, "Some people just don't know their place until they hit rock bottom." When the news reached me, I merely smiled. Good. The more relaxed they were, the more flaws they might expose. Leo and I maintained close but covert contact. Funds were secured, and the evidence chain was gradually perfected under his guidance. The key witness was safely housed. Leo's actions were faster than anticipated. Just as Chloe's family's law firm was about to bid on a major government project, the conclusive evidence regarding her falsification of evidence, along with the notarized testimony of the former employee, was anonymously sent to relevant regulatory agencies and competitors. Instantly, undercurrents surged within the legal community. Although the news wasn't fully public yet, Vance Associates firm's bidding qualification was urgently suspended for review, and Chloe was formally placed under investigation by the bar. I knew the final moment had arrived. Leo and I arranged to cross-check all details before submitting the evidence to the police and media. The location was a secluded safe house in the outskirts that Leo had arranged, where the key witness was also temporarily staying. I drove there, unusually vigilant along the way. As I approached the safe house, I noticed a car following me at a consistent distance, and my heart sank. I immediately called Leo. "I think I'm being followed. Change your route. Don't come here." Leo's voice was urgent. "I think I'm also being watched. I'm currently rerouting. Go directly to the police station. We'll meet there." I sharply swerved the steering wheel, turning into a small road, trying to shake off the tail, but the car clung to me like glue, even starting to accelerate to force me to stop. Bang! My car was violently rear-ended, and the steering wheel slipped sharply. I gripped it tightly and floored the accelerator, my heart pounding in my chest. They were insane. Near an abandoned factory, my car was finally forced to a stop by two vehicles sandwiching me. The car door was roughly yanked open, and Ethan and Chloe's distorted faces appeared before me, with two menacing men behind them. "Stella, hand over the evidence." Chloe's eyes were wild, all her usual pretense gone. "Hand over that backstabbing traitor and all the copies." Ethan roughly pulled me out of the car, his force making me stumble a few steps. "Are you determined to destroy us?" destroy the evidence, and we can call it even. I shook off his hand, my back against the cold car door, trying to remain calm. Even? From the moment you tried to drown me, threatened me, and spread rumors about me, there was no even. The evidence has been backed up countless times and sent to different places. Capturing me won't help you. Then just try it, Chloe shrieked, signaling the two men. Take her away. And that witness. Find him even if you have to dig 3 feet under. One of the men stepped forward to grab me. I knew I couldn't let them take me. The consequences would be unimaginable. Just as his hand was about to touch me, I suddenly raised my knee and thrust it hard into his groin. As he bent over in pain, I used my elbow to strike the back of his neck. This was self-defense I'd secretly been learning. The other man rushed forward, and I grabbed the pepper spray from my car, aiming it at his face and spraying hard. "Ah!" the man screamed, clutching his eyes. Ethan and Chloe hadn't expected me to fight back and were momentarily stunned. "Stella, you're asking for it," Ethan reacted, lunging at me, his face twisted in a snarl. Just then, piercing sirens grew louder and closer, and several police cars roared onto the scene, abruptly surrounding us. Red and blue lights flashed, illuminating Ethan and Chloe's faces, which instantly turned ashen. Leo got out of one of the police cars and quickly walked over to my side, whispering, "Are you okay?" I called the police as soon as I lost the tail. I shook my head, my heart still pounding, but a huge sense of calm washed over me. The police quickly apprehended the 2 thugs on the scene, as well as Ethan and Chloe, who had attempted to flee. "What are you doing?" "We were just having a chat with Stella," Chloe shrieked, struggling. The lead officer showed his badge and said sternly, "Ms. Chloe, Mr. Ethan, we have received a report accusing you of suspected assault, defamation, threats and intimidation, and now unlawful detainment and bodily harm. Additionally, Ms. Chloe, regarding your suspected case of falsifying evidence and obstruction of justice, please return with us to assist with the investigation." Ethan completely panicked. He looked at me, his eyes filled with despair and pleading. Stella, I know I was wrong. Chloe forced me into all of this. Drop the charges. Please let me off this time." Chloe stared at Ethan in disbelief, then shrieked, "Ethan, you loser! How dare you pin this on me?" I watched their ugly infighting, my heart cold. If they had known it would come to this, why did they even start? "Officer," I said calmly, my voice clear for everyone to hear, "I am willing to cooperate with the investigation and provide all the evidence I possess." The police cars took away a screaming Chloe and an ashen-faced Ethan. Leo looked at me, his gaze complex. "You were in real danger just now." "I know," I replied, watching the police cars drive away into the deepening night, where a faint glimmer seemed to appear on the horizon. But if I didn't take risks, how else could I put them away for good? The news of Ethan and Chloe's lawful arrest dropped like a boulder into a lake, creating ripples far more intense than the previous rumors. But this time, the tide was turning against them. The ironclad evidence, coupled with previous recordings and screenshots of them threatening me and spreading rumors, formed a complete chain of evidence. Ultimately, Chloe was convicted on multiple counts, including falsifying evidence, obstruction of justice, defamation, and assault, and sentenced to imprisonment. Her father's law firm's reputation was in tatters, and its business plummeted. Ethan, as an accomplice, also faced imprisonment for crimes such as threats, intimidation, and defamation. His family's company, having lost my family's support and under my family's deliberate or unintentional pressure, ultimately couldn't weather the cash flow crisis and declared bankruptcy. These 2 individuals, once at the peak of their glory, were disgraced and lost everything in the blink of an eye. I didn't attend the final verdict of the trial. The specific numbers and years no longer mattered to me. Knowing they had received their deserved punishment was enough. I poured all my energy into my new life. I left that coastal town filled with memories, and with my years of savings and some support from my family, I opened a small art gallery in a seaside town. No longer relying on the family's prestige, I focused solely on the art I truly loved. The art gallery wasn't large, but it was filled with sunlight, faced the sea, and was warm and tranquil. Leo came to my opening art exhibition. He wore simple casual clothes, a stark contrast to his previous elite image in a suit and tie. "Congratulations, Ms. Stella," he said with a smile, handing me a gift, a vibrant potted plant. "Thank you, Mr. Leo," I replied, accepting it and inviting him in to look around. We walked through the quiet art gallery, sunlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling window onto the paintings and onto us. "What are your plans now?" he asked. "To run this place well, and occasionally paint what I feel like painting," I said, looking at the sparkling sea outside the window. "It's simple, but it's the path I chose for myself." Leo nodded. Then after a moment of silence, he said, "I resigned from my partner position at the law firm." I looked at him, a little surprised. "I'm tired," he said with a smile, his eyes clearer than ever before. "I want to try a different way of life. Maybe I'll find a place to open a small firm, take on cases I genuinely care about, or even just write something." I looked at him and suddenly understood. In a way, we were kindred spirits, both breaking free from certain constraints and searching for our true selves. "That's wonderful," I said. He didn't say anything more. We stood side by side, watching the ebb and flow of the tide outside the window. An unspoken understanding flowed between us, not rushed to be defined, nor carrying any pressure. The dark period in the past had been like a long, cold winter night. It had nearly destroyed me, but it had also forged me. It made me see the dark side of human nature and recognize what truly mattered. I lost a deceitful fiancé and a painful past, but I found my independent self, gained the courage to start anew, and, perhaps, a partner to walk alongside me. The sea breeze ruffled my hair, carrying a salty, liberating scent. My new beginning started from this expanse of blue. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any thoughts about this story, feel free to share them in the comments section. Here is Roses and Love, sharing stories about marriage and women every day. See you tomorrow.